Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today in this webinar. I'm Claude Gendron, the Director of Customer Acquisition and Outreach at the King Commercial Corporation, also known as CCC. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that CCC is located on the traditional and unceded territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation, whose presence here reaches back to time immemorial. We decided to organize this webinar as a result of increased engagement in the Indo-Pacific region alongside with other Government of Canada trade portfolio partners. Recently, Minister Ng led trade missions to several countries, including Malaysia, Vietnam, Korea, working exporters in the Indo-Pacific market, and CCC as great services and tools that could be of interest and could benefit exporters in their trade journey. So in today's presentation, I'll be speaking to you about who is CCC? What are the services and programs that are offered to Canadian exporters? What are some of the success stories that we had so far? To explain and to give you some ideas of potential projects that you could be putting forward using a G2G contracting approach. I'll be speaking to where we can find the opportunities, which partners you could reach out to in seeking some assistance in identify those opportunities. What are the tools and resources available to you in finding opportunities? And then in the last portion of our presentation, we'll speak to how do we get started with CCC? Should you have a solution that could be of interest and you potentially would see a potential fit in exploring a G2G contract, how would you get started with CCC? What are the steps you need to take? And where you can find some information that could be useful to help you in your trade journey. And the last portion will include a Q&A. So really happy to take any questions that you may have. So CCC, Canadian Commercial Corporation, was established by an act in the Canadian Parliament in 1946. We are Canada's government-to-government contracting agency. We are the only agency of the Government of Canada who offers international contracting expertise to help exporters succeed in the international marketplace. We support exporters of all sizes that have solutions to fulfill the need of a government. And we can work with any level of authorities in a country. That includes federal, provincial, state, municipal, prime ministerial, presidential, offices, also parastatal, state-owned enterprise, other crown corporation, or as I mentioned, state-owned enterprise. It could be port authorities or airport authorities. Any level of authority under specific contracting ability, we could do business with, and I'll speak more about it further down in my presentation. Last fiscal year, CCC supported 15,000 jobs globally. We have a huge impact, in the domestically and also internationally creating jobs. We facilitated $3.2 billion contract last fiscal year. Over the last decade, we supported over $23 billion contract. On the slide here, you see some of the sectors that were involved the most. You've got defense, aerospace, infrastructure and ICT, and other sectors. What is important for you to understand is that we can support exporters that have solutions to fulfill the need of a government across sectors. We need to align with Government of Canada's commitment abroad. You think about the Glasgow Pact, you think about the COPE engagement on energy transition, but we really can support, solutions from a range of sectors if they're relevant to a country needs and priorities. So CCC is engaged. We have a team that is engaged internationally in connecting with government authorities, government buyers. Last fiscal year, we were engaged in 62 countries. I believe the previous year, we were engaged in 90 countries. That varies a lot every year. You've got a list of countries here where we've been the most active. If you think about Latin America, all the western part of the continent, we've been really active. Caribbean, we have a good brand over there. if you think about Europe in the defense sector, Northern and Eastern Europe, we've been very active, but also on the aerospace side, a bit in Western Europe. In the Indo-Pacific, you can see some of the countries, in Australia included, Bangladesh included, where we've been engaging, and a little bit in Africa. So, I mean, our engagement abroad or dictated or geared based on interest of government authorities in engaging with CCC and acquiring solutions from Canada, and also exporter who are developing leads and are seeking CCC's assistance in exploring potential G2G contracting. For key exporters, we have two prime contractor programs. We have also a sourcing program for the government of Canada. We have a database or a tool, an online service that we provide free of charge, free of cost to Canadian exporters, Global Bid Opportunity Finder. I'll speak to it later in the presentation. We also assist exporters in their trade journey by providing advisory services, G2G coaching, introductions to missions abroad, any potential troubleshooting. We also have an internal policy of no wrong door to customers. So if you reach out to us and it's not a perfect fit, but we can help you, redirecting you to another partner, government of Canada partners, we will do that. In the next slides, I'll be speaking to the US DoD Prime Contractor Program and International Prime Contractor Program. I don't have any slides on the sourcing for Government of Canada, but I'll just speak very briefly about it. When Canada makes a commitment internationally, whether it's to assist on immediate response for a natural disaster, or is to support the current Ukraine's effort in the field with the current war, CCC will provide will facilitate the sourcing and deliver, look after the logistics and contracting component of this sourcing program. So we've provided a lot of assistance to Ukraine. Right now, we'll continue to do that in fulfilling Government of Canada's commitment. But we also are active when there's commitments by the Government of Canada to intervene in immediate assistance for firefighting, for instance, or natural disaster or earthquake. So in the next slide, I'll speak to the US DoD Prime Contractor, and after that, the International Prime Contractor programs that we manage. So since 1956, CCC is the custodian to the Defense Production Sharing Agreement with the United States Department of Defense. The United States Department of Defense is the largest, by far, defense market in the world, with over $900 billion spending. What is important for you to know, whether you're in the defense sector or you have solutions that is outside of it, if you look at the key spending categories by the US DoD, you will find out that a lot of spending does not touch on the core of the defense sector. It touches on support services as well. If you think about military hospital, educational services, management of facilities, clean tech solution, waste management solutions, telecommunication, internet service providers, or connectivity. There's also a number of solutions that brings verticals that could be applied to the defense sector. If you think about AI solution, cybersecurity solution, so there are many needs that that could be relevant for your business. So CCC is entrusted into the U.S. Department of Defense DFARS regulation supplements as Canada's trusted acquisition partner. So for any solicitation of $250,000 and above, a CCC can act as prime contractor. We get funded by the Canadian Parliament to operate that business line, so there's no cost for Canadian companies to participate. What are the opportunities for you? What are the benefits that you may get in partnering with CCC on supplying to the US DoD? But what is important for you to know is that through the DPSA, companies have access directly to the US DoD to opportunities, public tender opportunities that are listed on SAM.gov. So it's a waiver to the Buy American Act. So you don't need to establish a domestic presence in the US. From Canada, you can supply directly, and it's a duty-free entry of goods. So I'll be speaking here on the International Prime Contractor Program. This program operates very differently from our US DoD program. US DoD works on public tender solicitation that are, published by the government of the United States Department of Defense. On the International Prime Contractor Program, we worked outside of a competitive process by providing an alternative to contracting, which is sole source contracting. So you may say, well, how can we do sole source contract? Most of contracts come through RFIs and are followed by RFPs. Well, CCC, a chunk of our business is done through sole source contracts. So we have a legal ability to sign contract with legal effect as signed by the government of Canada in elevating a potential pursuit to bilateral pursuit between Canada and a foreign government, where CCC will provide a contract, a guarantee of contract performance under terms and conditions. And this would bring the right level of confidence to the government authority to turn to another government to undertake the work. And by doing so, we'll provide responsible business conduct and oversight from cradle to grave throughout the project. And CCC will subcontract domestically in Canada with a Canadian exporter qualified in order to be able to deliver that work. So that mechanism works when a contracting authority in a country have exception to contracting law, legal exceptions allowing the authority to justify a sole source contract. And this justification could be, the country would have their own justification, but it could be anything from, immediate assistance needed, high priority of the government, highly complex solutions where the government may not have the right capabilities in-house within its own government or within its own industry to undertake. If you take a country who have never acquired any AI solutions, but have demonstrated, the need to acquire these solutions for some of its critical infrastructure or for service to the population. Or it could be, you look at what happened recently on cyber attacks, attacking a whole country. Well, some countries that have weaknesses to protect itself against cyber attack may be quite interested in exploring a fast, a G2G contract instead of spending 2-3 years running a tender and not having the right capabilities in-house to assess the proper companies brings risk in failing on the tender as well and adding furthermore delays in acquiring the solutions. So CCC brings, an alternative way to contracting and also allow our country to strengthen bilateral relations by partnering with Canada. So we are a AAA credit, rating country. So providing a sovereign guarantee of contract performance, I think adds value. We don't have a specific template in working with the government. Really, we will enable a discussion alongside with the qualified exporter, and we'll discuss what could be the potential scope, pricing, scope of the program, and then we'll start it from there. What works well are solutions that are integrative or turnkey solutions to fulfill the need of the government. If you're aware of a government who is really ambitious in acquiring a solution and you have that solution, there may be a way to explore engaging way before an RFI would come in or an RFP. How does the G2G contracting works? So as I mentioned, CCC and most of the exporters that we support will come to CCC with an opportunity that they've been identified, that they've been some level of engagement with the government authority in country, and to the point where the government is interested and is looking at how they could acquire the solution of the exporter. And 80% of the companies that we support comes, with these solutions. In the other 20%, my team will facilitate introductions with our trade commissioner service, our colleagues at post in missions abroad, and to facilitate introductions with the government authority, or we'll connect with the government authority at a trade show, for instance. So there are multiple ways we can engage with the government buyer, but obviously facilitating introductions means that it could take a bit of time before a solution becomes available or mature. Some governments will reach out to us directly because they're looking at acquiring a solution on a very short turnaround. And in this case, then we will look at what are the qualified exporters we have that have that solution available. Obviously, my team, we are fair and we have a code of conduct, so we are limited in our ability to share the opportunity to several exporters. If we have only one exporter with that solution, we can share that solution. If we have more than one exporter that are qualified with us that could deliver on that solution, it would be difficult for us. We wouldn't have the to share it. We wouldn't have the right capabilities in house to run a mini tender. So it works, really well when the exporter comes to us with a solution, or with your embassy colleagues, will inform us about a potential company who could be well suited for an opportunity. But the first level of engagement is a call between us and the exporter to learn about the company's interest in market and where they would see potential opportunities, and share some of the solution that they would think would be best fit. So some of the success stories that we had, and there are many. Really, I encourage you to. So in Australia, we delivered training simulators to the Royal Australian Air Force, with that was for the C-130J Hercule Master. The authorities, the Air Force was looking at realistic and immersive virtual environment, and with Blue Drop Performance Learning, we delivered this solution. So with Bangladesh, we did some work with Biman Airlines. They wanted to increase domestic connectivity and offer high-frequency services for Bangladesh and also within neighboring countries in South Asia. So we facilitated the sales of Dash 8 Q400 aircrafts, twin-engine aircrafts, 3 aircraft from de Havilland to support growth in their domestic market and neighboring countries. Same country, Bangladesh, again, with the Agricultural Development Corporation, the BADC, we are fulfilling 100% of the needs of the country in potash to support for use in agricultural fertilizer. And that effort has allowed the country to triple their exports of fertilizer. We used to provide 30% fulfill 30% of the needs of the country up until the war in Ukraine. And since that has grown to fulfilling all of the needs of the country with Canpotex. So moving out of Indo-Pacific, another great project that we've done in the infrastructure sector and transportation was with Bermuda, with the Ministry of Transportation. So the government was looking at redeveloping the terminal at the LF Wade International Airport. They wanted to improve passenger flow and serve for future transportation needs. So through a PPP involving a special vehicle purpose, for 30 years of concession period, CCC delivered a solution alongside with ACON, where we built a new terminal and providing financing for the construction as well. That allowed to add checkings, that had allowed to add spaces for departure, for arrivals, really bring a state-of-the-art technology to the airport. There was an international recognition for that project. There was a prize in 2017, by an international magazine stating that was the deal of the year in infrastructure. And also, praise from the Bermuda Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance. In Peru, in Latin America, we delivered the largest drip irrigation project in the world. It was the government of the Ministry of Agricultural Development and Irrigation was looking at if they were interested to improve the farmlands and cultivation in new land as well, and supplying potable water to families in the area. So we implemented the third stage of the Xavi Mochik infrastructure project in a three-way contract between CCC, the Peruvian government, and Hatch to improve 48,000 of acres of existing farmlands and open up 62,000 of acres of new land of cultivation. That led to also supply of potable water to 40,000 families, which is amazing. In the energy, the clean energy, recently we concluded a contract to extend the duration of life of C1, a nuclear reactor, a CANDU reactor with a state-owned enterprise of Romania. So providing emission-free, low-cost, uninterrupted flow of power, the government of Romania, had to cope with an increased demand of energy while having to ensure the maintenance and extension of the duration of life of that nuclear facility. So one of its assets, nuclear reactor, needed to be some maintenance work and to be extended for the duration of life. A contract of $780 million. CCC undertook a contract as prime contractor, and Atkins also had a direct contract to protect its IP with the government of Romania. And CCC's role allowed to lift a performance bond on the contract. So in the G2G contracting, there are some possibilities to reduce or lift some performance bonds with CCC's involvement. It's a case-by-case discussion with the government authority, but this is something to also bear in mind. Bolivia, great success from CCC with the government of Bolivia. A few years ago, I believe it was in 2019, the government sought some assistance close to the Amazonia. There's a region that was affected by a major forest fire. So in 6 days, CCC was able to deliver a contract with Coulson Air Crane to deploy 2 Sikorsky aircraft and a Chinook heavy lift helicopter to provide aerial fighting capabilities. It was pretty impressive to be able to deliver such contract in such a time frame. Obviously, a lot of contracts we do will take several months, but it shows how a G2G contracting mechanism can be a game changer when protecting the Amazonia, a key area for environmental that requires environmental protection, but also help all the neighboring countries that were affected by this forest fire. And I believe we did another project, I think it's in Nicaragua, for firefighting assistance. Again, on the same domain, firefighting through through the European Union's Civil Protection Mechanism. CCC signed a contract, G2G contract, with several governments for the sales of de Havilland aircraft with Croatia, France, Spain, Portugal, Italy, and Greece. All of these great success stories brings us to where can you find opportunities? Where can we find opportunities to supply to government authorities, whether it's through tenders or whether it's outside of a tender using a G2G contracting mechanism. So CCC worked very closely. We are part of the trade portfolio of the Government of Canada, alongside with Export Development Canada, who provides financing and insurance products, and the Trade Commissioner Service of Global Affairs Canada, who support exporters in 160 cities around the globe. I believe it's now 162 cities around the globe, with 1,000 employees to support exporters. They also have funding programs. Can Export is one of them, who can support travel in a new market to cover some of the cost for travel. And this is a very popular program. So when they launch it, I really encourage you to consider applying if you're looking at penetrating new markets in the Indo-Pacific. So CCC gets referrals from partners on either exporters or buyer leads. We work really closely with the Trade Commercial Service when it comes to time to seek introductions to a buyer abroad. Also to check if the buyer has the right contracting authority to deliver social contracting. We also get referrals from Export Development Canada. CCC can work with any financial institution in the world. We're not really binded, but also we work very closely with EDC on a number of transactions. So they're a great partner to have. I think internationally, when we look at G2G contracting, if a project has been already identified by a regional development bank, we are unlikely to support because they will enforce a tendering processes. And our business internationally mostly focus on G2G contracting, which is outside any RFP and way before an RFI comes in. But we work very closely with trade commissioners at trade shows in doing B2Bs with exporters, but also in connecting with government buyers. One example is CANSEC. I myself coordinate foreign delegations to CANSEC. So for those exporters who qualify to our service, we'll help facilitate introductions to buyers as well. I've attended the AUSA trade conference in Washington, connecting, working with exporters and connecting them to buyers. We have business development colleagues who travel around the globe, and some will be participating in a trade mission to Philippines and Indonesia, and other trade missions to come, including Australia, where we can help facilitate introductions and also support you on the ground. A great tool that we offer with our marketing team is the Global Bid Opportunity Finder, GBUF. GBUF.ca is a service that was developed by CCC, free of cost to Canadian companies, to Canadian exporters. So if you're looking at 10 public tender opportunities from abroad, this tool encapsulates opportunities from 200 jurisdictions around the globe. There's 5,000 and over opportunities listed every day. There are a number of countries from Indo-Pacific that are listed there. Philippines is one of them. So really encourage you to look at public tender opportunities that are listed on GBUF. Not to confuse with the other program that we manage, our International Prime Contractor, as I mentioned, where we explore G2G contracting away from a competitive process. So we want to make sure at CCC that you've got opportunities to look at both, tenders and also explore opportunities outside of tenders. So in terms of connecting business through G2G, we will work with exporters that qualify to our service. We have two due diligence process. The first one, when we connect with a new exporter, is to assess the company's managerial, technical, and financial capabilities. So we have a questionnaire. We won't ask for financial statement at this early stage, but later on we will ask. We want to make sure that the company that we can partner with is strong enough financially to mitigate some risk of the project, has the right level of expertise to do business abroad, has some experience in exporting. I've already sold a solution to government authority in the past, whether it's in Canada or abroad. And then once we have completed that due diligence, CC can be exposed in discussion with the buyer alongside with the exporter. And we will discuss with the exporter the right approach. We'll also consult with our embassy abroad, our geographic desk as well at Global Affairs, to explore what's the best, the relevant approach in engaging with the buyer. And whether it makes sense, to target a specific country given our bilateral relations with that country. Once we have an opportunity identified, we'll validate with the government authority their interest in working with CCC. We'll always follow the lead of the exporter in doing so. The exporter may change his mind further down the road in leveraging a G2G with CCC, or may want to add CCC to the table, despite the fact that he may be really well advanced in securing a contract with an exporter, with a government buyer. And once an opportunity is well firmed up with the government authority, we will complete a due diligence on a business development due diligence on the specific to the opportunity. So we'll assess the opportunity 360 degrees. What are the risks in market with the government, with the history of that government? Is it a country like-minded to Canada? Are there any unforeseen risks that we're identifying? Do we have any financing attached to the project? Or is it a PPP? Is the company able to provide the financing? So we'll look at everything around surrounding the project, all the aspects of the project, before CC can make a decision in proceeding with the G2G. And then we'll start developing the contracts will work closely with the exporter on all the provisions of the contract, both domestic contract and then the contract between CCC and the government authority and being targeted. So how do we get started? If you have a product or service that you believe could fulfill a need of a government authority, if you already have discussion with the government in the Indo-Pacific or elsewhere where you see potential fit for CCC to explore a government-to-government contract, if you have the right capacity and financial strength to pursue some deals, and the deals that we support vary. So, or with our international prime contracting program, so internationally across sectors, our team would support deals that could be 10 million and above. If the deal is lower, let's say $2 million, but very straightforward, we're happy to take a look at it. But the most of our effort will be geared at supporting leads that are above $10 million, 10 million above. For our for US DoD prime contractor program, we'll be supporting projects that are valued at $250,000 US dollars and above. And this one works on solicitation through SAM.gov, the public tender database of the United States, on what falls under US DoD. If you have more than 2 years of experience in selling and some track record of selling abroad, whether it's on occasional basis or more active basis, we are happy to engage with you. CCC offers ebooks, so knowledge products, whether it's on G2G contracting, whether it's more specific to our different prime contracting program or international prime contracting program or US DoD prime contracting programs. We have some knowledge products that are more specific to some sectors, if this is of interest to you. So we really have a lot of information to share and provide to help you succeed internationally. Our team includes myself and Jonathan McCauley and Mathieu Larivière, Senior Export Advisor. There's 2 other additions to the team, Tito Almeida, Export Advisor, and soon we'll have a new recruit that will be joining on December 2nd, Juliette Plot, as Export Advisor. If you would like to get in touch with us, please visit our webpage. On the contact form, you can fill out, any inquiry. My team is responsible, along with engaging with exporters across Canada and attending some trade shows domestically. We also manage the client contact center at CCC. So if you write on our contact form, it will then to our team and will be responding usually in a pretty quick turnaround. So which Indo-Pacific countries CCC is active on, and any advice how we can get started in working with in Indo-Pacific. So we had some discussion with the Bapanas in Indonesia. We believe we could do business in Indonesia. We signed recently an G2G non-binding MOU on building a green airport. We have some engagement in the defense sector with Philippines. Australia is a country we did some business. I think what is important is as you engage in the different countries in Indo-Pacific, always work closely with the embassy colleagues, trade commissioners at post, because the countries we can do business can vary significantly between the level of governments. I'll give you an example. If the central government, let's say Mongolia can run a tender, will run 2 RFP. If these are unsuccessful, they can do social contract. But it is possible that a state-owned enterprise or a municipal government would have different ability than the provincial government or the central government. And that can vary significantly different depending on the different level of authorities in the country and by country. So instead of determining if a country we can do business or not, because it varies significantly between level of authorities, if you say I have a solution for 911 dispatcher, for for the local authorities, for local government. Well, it could vary between countries. Some may be able to do G2G contracting, others not. So if you have any interest, happy to have a separate call with you to explore that, as well as working with our trade commissioner colleagues at POSE to explore what are the possibilities that would be a good fit to your solution. When you engage with POSE colleagues, I'd really encourage you to be as specific as possible. When we engage with them, we try really to be focused on what is exactly the government authority that are being targeted with your solution. Obviously, it's important for us to be able to qualify your business before we engage with your business. And really happy to walk you through these steps. It doesn't take that long. My team is responsible to do the preliminary due diligence. It takes around 2 weeks, but we'll do it in the right order before we further engage with our missions abroad. And the team, I know the trade commissioners are highly involved in trade missions with Nigel Neal, that is championing trade missions for Minister Ng. So usually when a trade mission occurs, the trade commissioners at Post will be, all hands on deck in helping exporters and developing a program. But the trade mission is one of the many initiatives that are being done by the trade portfolio partners. If you go to trade events, for instance, and you walk the floor, if you look at exhibitors, if you see a government stakeholder exhibiting with a pavilion, asking the people in the pavilion who is the authority opening up the pavilion, the chances that a minister may show up or be planning to open up the pavilion and spend some time with the local exhibitors in the pavilion. So it could be an opportunity for you to explore a pull aside with the minister. The trade commissioners can help us as well to facilitate introductions. If CCC has boots on the ground, attend a trade event, these are also some possibilities that we can explore. Important for us to be able to do it once we qualify the exporter with our service. Not too great expectation on the government authority. Last year, so CCC is, our niche is really supporting exporters selling to government buyers. We can also help supplying solutions to private sector buyers and non-for-profit buyers. An example in Australia was there was a cathedral was looking to acquire, to refurbish an organ for $2 million. The contract was very straightforward. The cathedral asked for help in qualifying the exporter and was really keen in working with Canada to do it. So CCC facilitated a contract as prime contractor, a G2G contract. In this case, it was a G2B, but for $2 million. I'd say that, obviously for a contract of 10 millions, we would expect the company to have revenues that are a bit larger than the contract. But we should not forget that a contract of 10 million could be a single transaction of a sale, or it could be a 5-year contract. If you look for a 5-year contract, let's say 2 million per year, it's quite accessible to some companies, SME companies. Not everyone, but still accessible. So, if you look at a 2 million contract over 3 years, it's less than $1 million per year. Obviously, for 2 million contract, because it mobilizes a number of resources in-house, or legal resources, or contract management, or contract structuring resources, we have to be mindful about how much resource that we mobilize. So if the contract is straightforward, we can look at it. If the contract is not straightforward, the chances are that we may not be able to support it. But my team was established to change that perception at CCC that we only work with high-profile companies. We really work across the spectrum with all sizes of companies. There's some contracts that are all paid in advance with positive cash flow. These contracts are very straightforward, but obviously we want the company to be strong enough. If your company is way too small, but you have a great solution, there's another way to work with CCC. If you identify a larger company that could act as a prime, as a subprime, we could qualify the subprime, and you'll be supplying to that company. That allow you to explore another way to do business with us and still be able to be successful in the marketplace and growing. And there's some companies that we're having active discussion to explore options. I mean, there are many ways we can structure contracts at CCC. Obviously, CCC needs to protect the Canada, so we need to look at mitigating risk as best as we can. So a simple, straightforward contract is best for us than something overly complicated. But doing an airport like Ecuador with the municipality of Quito was highly complex, but we're able to do it. The nuclear reactor involved the Canada account with the Ministry of Finance in Canada because of some risk in the financing. It was also highly complex, but we're able to support it. So we can do many different projects. Obviously, when we see a risk, we need to make sure that we identify the right mitigation measures, both for us, for the government buyers, and also the exporter. We want to make sure the export is solid enough so that in the end, the contract is a successful contract and a win-win for everyone. But I think that whatever projects you have, happy to have a discussion with you and take it from there. If it works, amazing. If it doesn't work now, it may work in the future. But we may give you some tips on how to structure your project differently, or what are the right information in market you should look at to potentially explore such opportunities. There's some companies who knock at the door because they already signed a contract and there's a performance bond required, and it's too onerous for them. And we expose to what we can do, what are the advantage of working with us, and what are potential constraint because of timelines. But some companies are very, very happy to find out what we can offer and take it from there. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. I mean, all the leads that we support does not bring a success. One out of 5 projects may go through, but it varies greatly between on the sectors that we support and the complexity of projects. Sometimes a government will want to acquire a solution very, very quickly for a number of reasons. And if we have the right companies ready, it goes very fast. Sometimes it will take longer. The government may require to consult with Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Public Works. They may have to go to Parliament. It really depends. So I don't think it's I mean, it's important for you to understand that we can work with companies of all sizes, but we have to be also realistic on the level of effort that's going to be involved. So if you're already working with a government, so you will have a number of options available to you. Through your discussion with the government authority, if the government really likes your solution, the government either will want to do an RFP, but may get puzzled because if they're really interested in your solution and it really fulfills the needs that they're looking for, you've answered all the questions of their technical team, any engineers to be working on, it fulfills some of the key priorities of the government, then the government may prefer a direct contract. Some government can give a sole source contract directly to your business, or could turn to another government to do it. Now, we play a similar role than the US FMS. In the US, foreign military sales does government-to-government contracting, but requires congressional approval. When I speak in the defense sector to some defense attaché, when they don't know about CCC, I say we're like the Canadian FMS. We're different, but we do government contracting, but we don't require congressional approval. We don't require parliamentary approval. Up on a certain threshold, it may require Minister Ng's approval, but for most projects we can proceed directly. And they're quite happy to find out, of what CCC can offer in the defense sector. Being a very lean organization, we can expedite contract very quickly. So if you're already engaging with a government or with a federal government, then the choice will be yours to determine whether you would like to explore a potential G2G with the government authority you're engaging with. And we'll follow the lead with you. We'll work with our embassy colleagues who may have a level of familiarity, at some degree of familiarity with the government authority, and may suggest some options, and we'll follow your lead. If you would like to propose to explore potential G2G with the government, if we are able to qualify your business and be satisfied with it, once we complete our corporate due diligence, we can be introduced to the buyer with you, or we could also have our embassy colleagues speak on our behalf, send a letter of interest to the government buyer, to multiple approach that we can take in getting a signal check from the government authority on their appetite for G2G for your solution. There are some instances the government may not be keen, and then that means that you may have to wait until an RFI or the RFP comes out. But there are some other instances you may believe that if the RFP comes out, some competitors may have more chances to win the transaction, and therefore looking at a G2G would be the best scenario. We work on cost recovery on that business line internationally. I did not mention during my presentation. That's important to take note, but we're very competitive in what we offer, and very happy to explain further, on a one-on-one call with your business. But if you believe that there's a room to explore G2G, you're welcome to engage with me and my team. Do we only work with federal government departments and agencies? So for the US DoD, everything is done on solicitation basis. So if a ministry or a local authority puts something on sam.gov, that will be upon the tender and what's available, and the authority will be listed there. Internationally, we can work with any level of authority. A port authority could engage with us because they want to do a port expansion, a port modernization. It could be an airline who is looking at increasing their fleet, an airport authority who is trying to add, lights or expand, the tarmac, or add fingerprinting capabilities, or beef up their security measures. It could be a Ministry of Finance or a security force who's looking at adding cybersecurity measures against potential threats, or building capabilities. It could be the Navy is looking at increasing their combat management systems. So we can really work with any level of government authority, in a country, as long as the authority you're targeting for your solution has the ability to do G2G contracts. CCC could participate in tenders, but because we need to complete our due diligence before the tender, the timelines will be very, very tight. And also we need to make sure that there's added value for you to ask CCC to a tender. Our niche is really to work outside of a competitive process, leveraging a sole source contract. So in terms of Government of Canada resources to help with exports, so the Trade Commissioner Service provide 4 key services to exporter that qualifies to their service. These services are free of charge to Canadian companies. They'll prepare you for international markets. They'll walk you through they provide you some tips how to navigate some of the complexity in the market. They can provide you with qualified contacts of companies that are well known, local companies or local contacts that are well known to the embassy in their market. They can help troubleshooting as well. And we work very closely with them because our objectives are pretty much aligned. We take party to a G2G contracting approach as a contracting party, as a prime contractor, which differs from the trade commissioners. But the trade commissioner service will refer opportunities in market, will refer companies to us, we'll work together in organizing preparation for trade missions, also attendance to trade shows, trade conferences. And there's quite a significant number of trade conferences that we attend. My team will do it more domestically, but we have another team at CCC would do it abroad, whether it's the Paris Air Show, Farnborough Air Show, Dubai Air Show. There are many other trade shows, across sectors that will be participating. And all the time, the trade portfolio will try to work together to provide the best service we can to exporters. So Can Export providing funding is another program. If your solution are not ready yet for commercialization, NRC IRAP support to bring more innovation, or support for your innovation to become ready for commercialization. their colleagues, FCC colleagues, as a Crown Corporation support as funding to support agribusiness exporters to export. Very, very active in the ag sector. We collaborate very well with them. Industry Canada, with their high growth program, support high growth companies with high growth potential to succeed as part of their growth plan, including with the export plan, and they've been very active in supporting trade missions as well. If you attend a trade mission and you come back with potential intelligence in market, discussion with buyers, level of interest, really interests you in connecting with us. If you have already some engagement and you'd like to test the water with us, there's no wrong approach. I mean, we are there to initiate a discussion with you. In terms of wrapping up, we're at the end of our presentation today. I want to thank you very much for attending this webinar. Again, we are there to help you in your trade journey. We have a number of resources and programs available to you. Really encourage you to engage with us. You should not hesitate. And we'll take it where you are, and we'll do our best to help you in your trade journey. And for those who will be attending the upcoming trade mission, all the best. Wish you great success in this trade mission and the other ones that will be coming. Definitely Indo-Pacific, Asia Pacific as a whole represent significant opportunities. And we really hope you can seize some opportunities, and it's going to help you grow your business. So thank you very much again. And I look forward to reconnecting with you.